Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
I had a question about a tournament hand that I played where I busted in the MSPT. It's an $1,100
Okay.
at Potawatomi in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. So I was right. Lake Geneva's in Wisconsin, right? I was asking you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear you. Yeah, it's right on the border of Wisconsin, Illinois.
Okay, cool. So this is the
Yeah.
mid-stakes poker tournament, right? MSPT?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's an 1,100 event.
Okay.
I'm not normally like a tournament player, so but I've been doing a little bit of studying, so I got in through a satellite.
Okay.
And there's 21 players left from 598, I think it was. So I have 300,000, and the blinds are 10,000, 20,000, and it folds around to me in the small blinds.
Let me just stop you real quick.
five.
Jerome, let me just stop you
Okay.
real quick. So you say that you've got 300,000, right? And the blinds are 1020, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have done as I've prepped for the main event at the World Series or the World Series, my big package this summer, is I am trying to
Okay.
really train myself to do my stack, to continuously update my stack in my head in terms of blinds. Because I think that one of the things that has mentally tired me out over the years is continuously calculating what my actual stack is in comparison to the blinds. And I'm actually
Yeah.
using extra mental energy by doing that. And it actually has shown a real return where I'm not as fatigued as much. I did it at the main event at the LIPC that I went deep. I did it at the bike tournaments. And the other thing too is that normally the chip colors are not inherently the same, and they're all different all over the place. If there were standardized chip colors, I think our mind would actually work a little bit easier, but they're not. You go to one place, there's some other color. You go to another place, they're another color. They're not standardized. So if you're continuously looking at your stack in terms of how much money do I have in dollars, what are the blinds, and that doesn't come naturally to us, which it really shouldn't because it's different at every location, you can see how much extra mental stuff your mind is working. So, I look at this like I've got 15 blinds, and then if nothing happens, like you're out, you fold 4 or 5 hands, you still have 15 blinds, or you have a portion of that because of the antes. But I
Right.
think it actually really helps because a lot of times these things get very, very tiring, especially on the button and especially right around your chip stack.
And I was trying to keep track of that because I knew that I had 15 and that the average was actually 20
Okay.
with the 21 people left.
Yep.
So even though I was short, I'm not like in comparison, I'm not really short to the field, I guess.
Right.
Right. So this is kind of where I think maybe I think I made a couple mistakes that I may have compounded, but
Okay.
basically it folds to me in the small blind and I have 5, 6 of spades. And the big blind, who has 600,000, is, I would say, he's a tight, aggressive player.
Yep.
He hasn't shown a tendency to defend his big blind at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I decide to make it 55,000,
I think that this
thinking that he would define his hand if I make it 55,000.
I think that this is a spot where some of the charts that I study, we talk about, this term Nash equilibrium is thrown around. And I think with a suited connector here at exactly 15 blinds, especially when the guy, if he calls you and he loses half his stack. And people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm just open shoving here. And the reason is because your hand is not strong enough to raise call, and and your hand is actually, depending on how you look at how high your hand is in terms of like a percentage. When they look at Nash equilibrium, I remember this like old conversation. If anybody is like old school poker, like remember the whole Joe Seabach, Ike Haxton thing when I used to host Poker Road back in 2008, the math is idiotic thing. And that was a whole thing where I think that Seabach had opened from like the hijack with pocket nines, and Haxton had reshipped with King Jack offsuit for like 18 blinds. And Seabuck called and Haxton, won. And Seabuck was kind of like saying that Haxton had made such a horrible play. And Haxton came on the Poker Road show and said, actually, like my play is unexploitable in the sense that even if you can see my hand, you can't make the right play. And I think with this particular hand in these stack sizes, if you shove 5-6 suited, I think a case can be made where even if a guy looks down at, I think the thinking goes is like even if a guy sees that you have that and has like queen 8 suited or something like that, or he looks at your range, that your play you can never lose basically value from your play because you have a suited connector. I think I tried to explain that as good as possible. It's range versus range, and I think with 5-6 suited here, open jamming 15 blinds is definitely like unexploitable. You would also do it with, and listen, I am all over people that say exploitable playing cash games, but I think in a tournament it's actually very, very important to learn these things. And I would do that with a small pair. And I think probably hands where I would start to raise call off here would be like maybe 9s plus, because you're going to get reships from a lot of hands that you're ahead of. And you could be ahead of a lot. But here with 5-6 suited, I would just jam pre. But it sounded like you raised. What did you raise to?
55,000.
Yeah.
So, not big either. But I was thinking two things here. One, that he was playing very tight aggressive and not defending a lot, so that if he does raise, I would actually raise, or that I would raise fold, and that that he may just fold too. So I didn't expect him to call, which is what he actually did.
Well, here's the problem. So you made it 50,000, right?
55,000.
But he's going to be getting a really good price. And again, any idiot can basically, study charts. And I was looking at charts here too. Like he's going to be getting a good price. I mean, I imagine that the ante was probably 1,000. Or excuse me, the ante was probably either 2,000 or maybe 3,000. I think it's 1023 is the standard. So if it's 10,000, 20,000 with a 3,000 ante, right? There's already, if you're playing nine-handed, there's already 57,000 in dead money, right? 10, 20, and then 9 times 3, 57,000. So if you make it 55, right? Now the pot's 112,000 and it's like 35 for him to call. He's getting between 3 to 4 to 1. He can call with a very, very wide range there. So I wouldn't be surprised that he calls there. And you don't want to call there either. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd almost rather, if you had a play where you were like, I'm going to raise a hand and then I'm just going to give up on it if he calls, if I don't hit, or it's just an easy fold, I'd almost rather make it larger. Do you see what I'm saying? To dissuade the call.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought too by doing this that like it's making my hand look very strong because most of my range I would be shoving in on him, with even including weaker hands. So I thought there was a couple things that went into it, but he did end up calling.
Yeah.
And then the flop came Queen 4-7 rainbow.
Queen 4-7. So the flop is Queen 4-7 rainbow. So you flop pretty good here in the sense that you're open-ended. And I want to say the pot is about maybe 140 with the antes, something like that.
Yeah, it's like 155, I think, with the antes.
Well, you made it.
The antes were 5K.
Oh, the antes
at this point.
Are you sure the antes were 5K? Yes, they were 1/4 of the big
one.
The
antes were really crazy. The antes were actually really, really crazy in this tournament. Otherwise, the structure was great, but the antes. We didn't even have 1K chips in play at this point.
Well, then it's definitely a shove pre-flop. Then it's definitely it's not even close.
Yeah, this is what I knew I made like compounding mistakes, but I was just wondering. But so then I have a very odd stack size now too, with this board. So.
Well, I mean, you started the hand with 250. I mean, you started the hand with 300. Now you've got 245 left. The pot's 150. Just open jam.
Well, that is what I did, which I think is the right play, but I do believe that in the beginning, I guess my biggest question was, is it just a fold or is it a jam with the 5-6, with having 18 big blinds and the average being 20 big blinds?
Well, you said that you had 300,000 at 10-20, right?
I'm sorry, 15 big blinds, yes.
Yeah. So, because once you start getting up to like above 15 big blinds, it gets tougher. But with 15 big blinds, with the antes being like a crazy sizing, it's definitely a jam. Now, some people might say, although I think in a tournament it's pretty much useless, that you could bet super small on the flop and then just jam any turn. You could bet something like 50 and then just jam any turn, but I like to just jam here, even for like
Okay.
a pot and a half size. But I think clearly the play here pre-flop is just to jam all in.
Okay.
So what ended up
Yeah,
happening?
you're never okay. That makes sense.
Your hand's
I
too
just thought,
good. Your hand's too good to fold. Like if you had 5-6 off, I could see folding. And I could see
okay,
sometimes too with like maybe an old man coffee in the big blind who's never gonna, maybe raise you. You could even limp with some playable hands as well. But I feel
right.
like if you've got an old man coffee in the big blind with these ante sizes, I probably am not limping. I'm probably just jamming anything that I'm gonna play because what my boy Pete Stay in School said, actually did a better um, he did a better description of what I was trying to say. With the money, and I'm going to quote him, with the money in the pot, you either get enough folds or he has to call you wide enough where you have enough equity versus his range. And I think that that's the case here with 5-6 suited. So
Okay.
that's what I would do. So
Okay.
what ended up
Yeah.
happening?
Well, he insta called. He had king queen.
Okay.
So and then it ran out, and I busted. So
I mean, if you jam there, he should be calling too. He should be snap calling you with king queen. But
yeah.
normally when you look at these charts, when you look at these Nash charts, these plays are you're making a play that's unexploitable even if your opponent is calling you with the correct range. And normally in live poker, you can actually shove wider because you might have a guy fold like king 10 offsuit that he shouldn't fold. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so that's why you can actually shove a little bit wider. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out CrushLivePoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.